I mean, my thoughts on the movie, I thought it was good fun. I thought the movie was good fun. But then again, like what Daniel said, is at the third act. And it's funny that we're always opposite to what you're saying, Jonathan. Like you like the bits that we don't like, and then you like the bits that you don't like. We're just completely opposite all the time.
Hello, everyone. We are back again. I'm with my boys Daniel and Hervé. Good.
Hi.
But before we get into the main discussion, guys, you know what we have to do. Best recent things. What's to go first?
I could take it away. I could take it away. So I was actually ill last week, so I didn't watch too much. But I thought, you know what? Let me just put something that's going to be sort of nice and easy to watch, and something to introduce my girlfriend to because she hadn't watched it. And that is Gossip Girl from about 2008. So very old series, bit of a throwback to when series used to be like 20 episodes long and used to go on for sort of however long. But that show, I remember watching it sort of back as a kid, and I bet you're thinking, what am I doing watching Gossip Girl? I was actually introduced to it via my sister, and essentially all it is just these rich Manhattan kids kind of going through the basics of school dramas, relationship dramas, this, that, and the other, and then you've got the whole premise of Gossip Girl being this anonymous blogger who is collecting information on all of these people and posting it on the blog for people to see, essentially. So it's a good watch. To be honest, it's one of the series I look back on very fondly from that time. I had a really good time with it, but probably not to everyone's taste. But best thing I watched recently is Gossip Girl.
Daniel, how do you feel about that?
I think I might have seen an episode or two of that, but it's been forever. It's also kind of like one of those genres that kind of has fallen out of fashion a lot, which is the New York high society kind of drama, right? Those used to be around a lot in the 2000s, and now that's very much not popular.
Yeah. And it had some really, really good cast as well. Of course, it had Penn Badgley in there, who kind of went on to do the You series as well. So had a good cast as well.
Okay.
But yeah, that's me. Daniel?
This week I found one of those straight to Netflix movies that look like nothing from if you just read the synopsis, but when you actually watch it, it's really enjoyable, and that is The Adam Project, which is a 2022 Ryan Reynolds movie.
Yeah, I've seen
about a guy who travels. So he's from 2050 and he travels back in time in order to for a mission, and he gets stranded in the wrong year and has to kind of shelter with his 12-year-old self before he can fix his time machine and can continue the mission. And it's actually a really solid science fiction story. It's got a strong family angle as well, in the sense of you've got this guy who's interacting with his younger self, and the two versions of him interact with their father from a third time period, and it's just well done. Effects are good, action is good. Comedy is very standard Ryan Reynolds comedy, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. And I was really surprised. I was expecting kind of trash, but what I got out of it was actually something that I really enjoyed from the beginning to the end. The end kind of falls off a cliff a little bit, but everything else is just really good. And I was really surprised, and it's one of those movies that got just dumped on streaming and just never got any attention at all. And I think it could, if this had gotten a theatrical release, it could actually have been decently successful, because it's actually just a solid story.
Cool.
I agree. That's one I have watched, and I did really enjoy that movie as well.
And I think one of the things that struck out, first of all, it's really rare to have a movie be about father-son relationships. That's actually quite surprisingly rare. And this movie is all about that. And it also uses the time travel plot device to enable an interesting plot, which is that you basically have this family from different time periods interacting with each other in the same room. And that's what drives the plot, and that's what drives the character interactions and decisions. And surprisingly, that is not something you don't see very often either, where often time travel movies often get very convoluted and kind of hung up on the mechanics of how it works. And here it's that is just a way to get characters at different ages interacting with each other and so on. So that was really impressive as well on that level.
Cool. Well, I actually watched that film as well. It was all right. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
And it's more like it looks extremely generic and disposable when it just comes up in your Netflix recommendations. But maybe that is why I had such a good time watching it, because I was expecting less than nothing. But what I got out of it was actually just a really solid movie.
Like a lot of Ryan Reynolds films, I don't think. I was going to give a wild statement saying I don't think he's ever produced a bad film, like been in a bad film, but that's a lie. But the films he has been that I've seen, they're really good.
Yeah, he's normally like a safe level of fun in his movies.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff like R.I.P.D. Was not very well received. Like there's a whole bunch that are just not great. And he always plays the same character, and that either works or it doesn't in a particular case.
Damn.
In this case, it does.
Damn. Well, I'm looking forward to Deadpool coming out. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Deadpool is that is his passion project, and that is where his type of humor and his personality just are a perfect fit for the character.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the mirror Keanu Reeves in that sense, that he always plays a very particular character and either works for the role or it doesn't.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, I don't really have nothing because I was too busy catching injuries from roller skating on Saturday, which I will not be doing again. I'm currently watching a show which I've been watching for years. On Sunday, it's Power. So this is if you don't know what Power is, it's literally based on a crime family, American, like mainly two crime families, but one, mainly Ghost. But a crime family in New York City, an American crime family in New York City. Now this one I'm watching the Raising Kanan series. Yeah, man, I just really like Power. If you guys haven't seen Power, I definitely suggest you to go and watch it. There's how many books is there? There's book 1, 2, 3. I think there's 4 books because there's the Tommy saga, Kanan saga, Tariq saga, and then obviously there's Ghost. So yeah, there's currently 4 books out. When I say books, I mean that's what the titles refer to. But I'm currently on the Kanan one. Obviously his uprising, obviously because he's an iconic character in Power, and it was pretty much it's just a prequel to his life. And yeah, man, it's fun. Currently next week, I think it's next week or the week after, is going to be the final episode of this season. So kind of excited about that. But I suggest if you like crime, if you like crime dramas, I definitely say this is the one.
I struggled to get into that one, to be honest.
Which one?
The Raising Kanan one. So I watched the original Power with Ghost character, and then everything that's come after that, I've not really engaged with. I heard the one with Tariq's really good, but the Raising Kanan one is the one that I did try to watch. I think I got about like 2 or 3 episodes in, and it just, I think it was.
Yeah, it's. Sorry.
I was gonna say it just. I think it was maybe like the time skip into the past probably just didn't vibe with me, because obviously being in the Power universe, modern day and things like that, and if I'd probably watched the Tariq one, I might have enjoyed it more because it's a continuation of the story as opposed to going back in time and seeing Kanan's upbringing.
Yeah, I can't lie. It starts off slow because I was similar, but we're currently in season 3, I believe, or was it season 2? I think season 3. It's really good in season 3. I'm saying, like, even when, I don't think it's a spoiler. I don't really. It's not really what is a spoiler, but Joey. Did you see Joey Badass's character in the first season? Yeah. So he's in season 3, but he ends up getting killed by his own brother. So I'm saying his brother is like the Black Michael Myers, the hood Black Michael Myers. So his brother's an interesting one, but it does really get interesting. I think it's a slow burner. I'm even the same with BMF, which is obviously another crime series. that's a slow burner as well, but it gets good as well. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but it's all right. But yeah, it's it's crime. It's crime junk food. You know what I'm saying? It's like junk food. You know what I'm saying? If you like the crime series, this is definitely a good way to go.
Sounds good. I might check that out.
I think you already checked out Daniel. Not the Kanan one, but I think you checked out Power already.
I don't think I have. I've heard of it, and it looks good, but I haven't gotten into it.
Oh, I thought you said you checked out like 1 or 2 episodes, and I don't know if you said it wasn't for you. Well, I'm not sure, but I think it was on Netflix, and you said I'm not sure. Maybe someone else. But yeah.
It's something.
Oh no, it was Top Boy, I think.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But no, I haven't seen an episode of Power yet.
Okay, cool. You should check it out, man. You should check it out.
Cool. Well, the main reason we're here, the movie title that Jonathan struggled to say, Argylle. Your opinion?
Argylle.
Argylle. Give your thoughts.
Listen, man. It's a corny spy movie saved by the third act. Listen, the way that you guys are the way you guys are reacting already was starting off, in disagreement. But listen, man. Overall, the movie was above all right. It was above average. You know what I'm saying? For me, like I said, saved by the first act. And look, spy movies are like slashers. You know what I'm saying? Slashers, you're not really expecting a great story from a slasher. You know what I'm saying? A slasher film and a spy film for me is just reliant on the feel factor. So when it came to how, personally for me, I felt like it was boring. The first act, second act was very boring to me. You know what I'm saying? I tried so hard to stay awake, and it didn't even make it even like the situation wasn't even made better because I was in a cinema filled with kids making so much flipping noise, which was annoying. So it just added fuel to the fire. But still, the first and the second act for me was what it was. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't surprised by what I was seeing. It's a freaking spy movie. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, spy movies aren't known to be, its forte isn't known to have great script writing. So it's just, like I said, it's based on action and gadgets and technology. Yeah, that's all. So the first, second act wasn't great. But the third act for me, especially when it got to the fight scenes, I'm saying that for me, I think highlight moments is what saved it for me, especially with the whole ice skating on the oil rig, which people say was stupid, but bro, it's a spy movie. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they're going to be OD exaggerate when it comes to, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Even the technology is over exaggerated as well. So I don't know why people were so against that scene where she was ice skating on the oil rig. And, I don't know what it was, but it was some sort of, basically the environment was filled with oil. I don't know where they were specifically, but yeah. So I think and the fight, and also the musical dance fight scene element as well near the end between the two spy agents was also fun as well. So yeah, like I said, man, and I did like the comedic factors that were implemented with the cat. I found the cat to be very not funny, but it was the cat. I don't know if it was a he or a she, but the cat was enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? The scenes with the cat was very enjoyable. But yeah, it was a corny movie, man. It was a corny movie, but it was above average. It wasn't as bad as people are saying it was, but it wasn't great. You know what I'm saying? It definitely wasn't no 260 million budget movie, which we will get into later. I don't know why the frick Apple keep doing this, because they spent nearly $1 billion on 3 or 4 films already. I think it's on 3 films so far. They spent nearly $1 billion. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
They spent 200 million on each of those 3 movies that you're talking about. So they spent 200 million each on Napoleon, this, and Killers of the Flower Moon. And they lost money on all 3, and there's this big debate about whether or not that matters.
Well, yeah, it does matter. I'm saying it matters definitely, but we can get into that later. I'm saying, yeah, it is. Actually, do you want to get into it? Actually, no. Sorry, you guys have to give your impressions. So, what do you guys think?
Do you want me to?
I can go. So, this movie has severe identity issues. Like it simply does not know what it wants to be. It's tonally all over the place, stylistically all over the place, and as a result, it just doesn't work, in my opinion. So there's like 3 different kinds of experiences you get from this. The first one is the first 10 minutes, which is a totally over the top spy adventure, and then you've got the middle two-thirds, which are actually fairly grounded spy story that is actually. I thought that was the really strong part. I liked all the characters. I liked the plot. I like the pacing of it, the structure of it, and then the last third is where it completely falls apart. Largely because it can't decide like what its tone and style is supposed to be. And I think I could have been on board if the entire movie was like the first 2/3, or if the entire movie was like the last third. But having both in the same movie just doesn't make sense, because the movie doesn't make any attempts to reconcile the two. It just changes into a different movie at one point. So, and I think that is why it's getting such negative reactions, is because whichever part you liked, you're going to dislike most of the other parts. And that doesn't even start to get into a lot of the plot mistakes that are just outright technical mistakes in the end, where the plot just stopped, where they just stopped trying to have a story, and we can get into details of that, I'm sure, but it just completely falls apart in the end. And then you've got the tie into the Kingsman franchise, which is completely tacked on in an after credit scene and doesn't make any it doesn't add anything, and just further confuses the issue. Just basically adding like a third or fourth, depending on how you count, angle to what this movie actually is. And it's just this Frankenstein monster of 4 different movies at least stitched together. And those parts don't, it's like a Frankenstein monster with 5 legs. They just took the wrong parts from the wrong things. And as a result, the whole thing kind of like, I think this movie is really enjoyable if you walk out of the cinema at the point where they get to the vineyard. I think that is a really strong story that with good characters, good plotting and everything after that is just nonsense. So to me, it doesn't hold up because of those reasons, but there's a really enjoyable story in there with not the most creative premise, but I think it works and it's interesting, even though it's a bit underdeveloped. But yeah, I think the fact that it's just such a mess kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah, it had fragments of being a good film, but I do agree it was a bit all over the place.
I mean, my thoughts on the movie, I thought it was good fun. I thought the movie was good fun. But then again, like what Daniel said, is at the third act, and it's funny that we're always opposite to what you're saying, Jonathan. Like, you like the bits that we don't like, and then you like the bits that you don't like. We're just completely opposite all the time. But I think like Daniel said, it was like a solid story. It was like, a simple story, but it was a solid story, throughout the first 2/3 of the movie. The characters were very likable. Ellie Conway, her character was really cool. The other spy, I think his name was Aiden as well. Like, he was like really funny, very entertaining. Anytime he was on screen, he was like very like sarcastic, very dry humor, which is my type of humor, which I appreciated and I really liked in the film as well. I also thought like the choreography as well, the action, the fight scenes as well, especially the one that was on the train, was done really, really well. And I did really like as well, and I think it's in the trailer as well, the cut back and forth where it's going from Aiden's character to Heny Cavill's character, Argylle, and how she was like kind of like seeing the two of them during the fight sequence. I thought that was like really well done as well. But then they just, like Dan said, they just completely switched the movie after they got to the vineyard, and it just started getting completely wacky. It got completely weird, and what could have worked. So like, of course, you've got that really like over the top scene at the start of the movie where you've got Heny Cavill's character Argylle walking in this situation essentially, and then you've got like this kind of like chase scene and stuff like that, and you can tell it's really bad CGI, but you can kind of tell it's meant to be purposely over the top and done really wacky.
Also a lot of fun.
Pardon?
Also a lot of fun.
Also a lot of fun, yeah. And the reason that worked for me was because it's in the context of her telling a story in her novel, basically. It's a story in a book, so it's meant to be over the top and it's meant to be exaggerated, which, they did really well. And if they had maybe continued that type of and I don't know how they could have done it. I don't have the answers on how they could have done it, but if they could have done, if they wanted to do the wacky stuff, which they clearly did, towards the end of the movie, they could have tied it into it being still part of, the novel, the story. Somehow, I don't have the answers of how it could have worked, but for me, because it was meant to be real life, and she's, and even the scene, sorry, that you're saying about her skating on the oil, I don't feel like it's the idea of it isn't bad. I just feel like the way it's executed is just horrible, in my opinion, and the CGI on that is terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with that.
The idea was stupid and the execution was awesome.
Okay, really. I just felt it just looked really ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Yes, that's why it's awesome.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to disagree with the video covered and the oil skate one. The video, like I said, I understand where you're coming from, because I get why you're saying they should kind of carried on the storyline of her actually still being awful. I understand.
No,
but for me.
Sorry, no, that's not what I'm saying. I meant in terms of it being over the top and wacky. If they wanted to do that, because at the start of the movie, it's in the context of it being in her novel. But if they wanted to continue it, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Of how they could have done it, the plot and all that stuff is all good, but yeah.
I get what you're saying, and I do understand, because I think the way that was portrayed to us is what is being written in the movie is what's happening. So it's they're saying that the novel's coming to life, when in actuality it wasn't really. But I see what they're trying to do, because obviously this is bits of her memory being formed in a book, so it kind of does tie into that, but not really. That's only if you're trying to kind of give it help. But I understand. But personally, for me, the Vineyard one, when they introduced that plot twist of her actually, being the agent, jeez. I'm sorry. Spoiler. I found that. I was like, oh.
Spoiler alert. Just we're in the spoiler section now.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Okay. But when they revealed that she was an agent, that I don't know. That was just oh, okay. Now because like I said, I wasn't enjoying the first two acts, even though the storyline of the novel coming to life, that was cool. 100%, it was cool. But even though I did say the fight scene, remember I said the fight scenes near the end was interesting. Personally, for me, the fight scenes in the beginning weren't fun whatsoever. I didn't like them. The reason why I didn't like them, because it felt more like a violent dance choreography, like a musical choreography, rather than an actual fight scene. It looked fake to me. Even though like I said, the highlight, obviously, the whole oil rig ice skating is fake as hell. That just for me just looked amazing. Even when they had the gas masks and then the colors, and they would fight. It was like a love fight scene, whatever was going on there. Even though that looked fake, it was still kind of fun and interesting. Even the music wasn't even matching the settings, but it works for me. And the whole the execution with the fight scene on the Marshall's skating, that just looked cool, man. Even though it was stupid, it just looked sick. You know what I'm saying? Even when she started spinning, I'm like, yo, this is kind of sick. And she just started, killing her ops, just swerving around like this is sick. But yeah, when the plot twist was introduced, that kind of switched for me. That even though cool, that's a whole new storyline in a way. Yeah, I just found it fun. I just can't agree. I can't agree with what you guys are saying in the third act.
But about those fight scenes,
I was gonna say I really liked the plot twist. I thought that was excellently done. I was very on board with the plot twist. It's just it got wacky afterwards, is what I'm saying.
And the main problem is they can't make up their mind what the rules are, right? So in the first part of the movie, it's all pretty. It's action movie heightened, but it's not silly. It's not over the top, right? And all the action is it's still within the realms of believability. And then you've got the armory scene, which is choreographed, like you say, like a dance, but and completely over the top and stylized. But it's also not what happening. It's also not what is happening in the reality of the movie, right? Because they keep cutting back and forth between what's like the point of view in the hallway, and then the security cameras, and you can see those are not the same thing. So this is all happening in Ellie's mind, apparently. And then the one with the scene with the ice skating, they first of all she goes from frightened damsel in distress to super badass spy in about 5 seconds, with not very much of ramp up between those two. And she just says, "Oh yeah, I've been remembering stuff," but that's the entirety of the explanation. But also they and you know, the idea of skating on like 5 millimeters of crude oil is just ridiculous. It's just stupid. But they also break the rules that they established first, because they said a single spark will blow the entire thing. And guess what ice skating on oil will cause? Right? So they can't even keep the logic straight within the same scene. And then between scenes, the rules change constantly.
Sorry, can I add to the oil thing as well? Is that they decided to switch to knives because one spark from a bullet will set things off, and then you have her pirouetting in a circle, firing off machine gun bullet. Yeah.
Okay, guys, well, come on. What spy movie makes sense, bro? Come on, let's keep.
No, but the movie that never decides what its rules are.
Yeah, I hear
so the problem, like, I actually grinned the entire way through the hallway scene, the armory scene, because it's just so it's actually the most creative part of the movie, and it looks visually gorgeous, and it doesn't fit in the movie, right? It just contradicts everything that's been set up about how this universe works, and that is why I don't think it should have been there. Either that or the entire movie should be like this, right? So my complaint is not that the scene was bad. Like, I liked all of those scenes in isolation and in their proper movie. The problem is they were not in the kind of movie that supports it.
You know what's crazy? I wouldn't disagree if someone said this felt like a ChatGPT film just filled with big names. Because, like I said, even though I do feel like the third act saved the film, I did say it was an above average film. You know what I'm saying? But above average is not. It's not bad, but it's not good. Do you get what I'm saying? It just wasn't bad. It wasn't like a bad film the way I think it wasn't a bad film the way everyone's describing it. But it wasn't a film that I would recommend to people above the age of 16, per se, for me. But yeah, okay. So where do you think this film went wrong? Because box office sales, Lord have mercy, 35 million worldwide, and the budget was roughly around 260.
So I think what happened, what I've read, is that it was made for 110 or 120, and then got sold for 200 million to Apple, and then they basically market and distribute it, and they're using it as basically an advertisement for the streaming service, which is we'll put it in theaters and it will make whatever money it makes, and then afterwards it will be on Apple Plus, which is the same thing they did with Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon. So I don't think the budget is 260. I think the budget, like the cost basis for Apple, is 200 million. The movie itself has already made a profit because the people who made it sold it for like a 60% profit margin to Apple, and they've gotten paid, and they're in the clear.
There was articles circulating around the marketing of the film, which was around, some people were saying it was around 60 million. Yeah. So if the marketing was 60 million and the actual budget itself for like the whole film and paying actors and everything, I think that comes up to either 180 or 200 million. So that's roughly 260.
Yeah, that's fair. But then there's also distribution, so it's got to be more than that as well. But yeah, so yeah, they are very far. They made maybe 10% of their money back at this point.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I feel like it's just out in a bad time. I feel like, you know, this movie suffered from there not being enough good movies in the cinema at the moment. I think the last, movie that did really well was Wonka still, and everything else that's come out has pretty much struggled. Like, I feel like if this came out in May or in like the summer sort of period, I feel it probably would have done a lot better than what it did. And I feel like it probably, deserves to have done better than what it did at the box office.
At the same time, it also doesn't have any competition, really. Like, if you're in the mood for a light-hearted action movie, what else is there?
That is true. That is true. But I don't know. My thought is that people just aren't, tuned into going to the cinema at the moment. It seems, and I don't feel like this is a big enough sort of a movie to, draw people to the movies. But I feel like if it was situated in between other good films, then it, would have benefited from that.
Yeah, and it has all the right ingredients, right? It's got an all-star cast with some huge names in it. It's got a well-known director. It's got the right look. This should have worked, right? So people talk about superhero fatigue, but I'm beginning to think that's just movie fatigue. And every once in a while, people when it comes out that there's actually a good movie around, the people will flock to that, and that movie will make all the money, like Wonka seems to be. But after that, but beyond that, there doesn't seem to be much interest in just going to the movies in general.
So what next for Apple? Where do you go from here? Do you think they should continue this method of spend big and wish big, or they should start doing what these other production companies are doing, like A24, Blumhouse, where they just, invest not small amount, but like 10, 15 million, just invest in good stories that don't have such a big budget.
I mean, they're 1 for 3 kind of for those 3 movies, right? Napoleon was generally not well liked. Killers of the Flower Moon is I think was generally well regarded, and this one is getting a bad word of mouth as well. So basically, they've spent $600 million to get one good movie.
Yeah, but that's not reflected in the box.
Apple has all the money in the world, but even they don't like wasting it, right?
But that's not reflected in the box office sales. I don't mean in terms of the view on it. I mean in terms of like, okay, are they getting their money back? And so far, I don't think they've got their money back on none of their films. What
they want is to build up a catalog in Apple Plus so that people will keep subscribing to see those movies, right? But even then, they aren't really achieving that, because who's going to subscribe to watch Napoleon or Argylle? I mean, these like. Everybody's focusing on how much money Apple has, and they're not going to run out of money. I think this was like a couple, like those 600 million are like a day's worth of revenue for them or something. So it's not like they can't afford it, but it's also a really bad investment. And they could be doing so much better things with their money, probably. And I don't know. I mean, none of like one of those 3 I might subscribe for Apple Plus for. Being Killers of the Flower Moon, but everything else is that's not an argument or a draw for the streaming service, as far as I'm concerned. And most people seem to see it similarly. Otherwise, they would have been more interested in those movies.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we've kind of sidetracked from the actual film itself. So, okay, whose performance would you say was your favorite?
I would go with Sam Rockwell. I feel like the moment he was introduced into this, into the movie, he was just like very like captivating. He was very sort of like entertaining, very funny, very engaging. I feel like he took all his action scenes really well as well. And I just like overall, like I really liked his character in the movie. I feel like I feel like he was probably I wouldn't say he was like the heartbeat of the movie, but he kept things interesting and engaging throughout that initial period of the movie where everything was like a lot more like grounded and a lot more grounded in general. Yeah, so I'd say Sam Rockwell's character Aiden.
Yeah, I think everybody did a good job. I thought Sam Jackson was kind of a parody of himself.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's like somebody wrote a Sam Jackson parody kind of thing, and then gave him those lines. Nothing wrong with the performance, but like his place in the movie is just not terribly interesting or enjoyable, to at least to me. When everybody else does their job well, right? I liked all the characters, and right up until the point where it gets stupid. But everything up to that point, I was really enjoying myself. And if the entire movie had been like that, then I would be singing its praises.
Yeah, and I feel like the actress that played Ellie Conway as well. I feel like she did an extra. I know we're praising all the actors in this film, but like I feel like she gets a special mention as well, just because she conveyed, being that author that's sort of kind of like lost in his spy world, being dragged into sort of areas that she's not sort of kind of comfortable in being. I felt like she portrayed all of that, really well. And again, she was like, I feel like she was actually the heart of the movie. She was like, I feel like this movie had like a really good charm about it, in terms of it was like very like kind of like warming, and I feel like he brought a lot of that into the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think she had the challenge that a character like that is very easy to make annoying.
Yeah.
Right, and for the most part, I think she wasn't that. Right, so I kind of like I at no point wanted her to go away and just let Sam Rockwell do his thing, right? Even though I think his performance is more charismatic and more fun, but I think Bryce Dallas Howard also just put in at least a good performance with what she was given. Like nobody really drags it down. Like even Sam Jackson doesn't drag it down. It's just more like got a little bit annoying for me. But everybody else just does their job and does it well, and the character is likable as a result.
The one character I would get rid of is that damn cat. That damn cat had.
Oh hell no! This is where we disagree. Because my favorite character
being in the movie, please.
Oh no!
Oh my god.
No, my favorite character in the film was the cat, man. Honestly, man, the cat was the vehicle that was needed to introduce the humor. I don't know what you're talking about, Hervé.
At no point did the cat make me laugh at all. Even when they did the whole like slow-mo scene when it was falling off the building, I was just like, okay, please, can we just get past this? Like, I don't know. And I'm not against cats. I've got nothing against cats or whatsoever. But for me, it was just a waste of space, man.
Yeah, I don't like cats. So cats are cute, but I don't really like cats. They scare me. But, nah, man, my favorite character, guys, was the cat. Like I said, it was the vehicle that was needed. He was like, was it a boy or girl? Does anyone remember?
Who knows? And the CGI was bad on the cat as well. It was just like, man, it was just so.
Or like just in general, kind of superfluous. Like there wasn't really anything, like any point to the cat being such a prominent part of the story.
Yeah,
but that wasn't the point of it. Like I said, I think the cat was just there for humor purposes. Like I said, it was just a vehicle for certain scenes. It was literally the cat was needed for the humor. I think if the cat wasn't there, then I don't think this film would have had any humor whatsoever.
But was that
I personally
for it to its keep? Like I kind of chuckled at the scene where they needed the guy's eye scan to get into the next room, and then the cat went berserk on the face, and the eyeballs were ruined, and so they had to come with Plan B. That was laugh out loud funny, but it was a joke. And that was kind of the only one.
Yeah, but there wasn't really laugh out loud moments in the film about the cat, anyways. Like, what would you say was a laugh out loud moment in the film? I don't really find it funny. I only found, personally for me, like I said, I only found.
If the point of the cat is comic relief, then there was not enough of that.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm saying it was I'm literally just saying without the cat, then it wouldn't have been funny at all. But there was comedic moments.
It's not a comedy to be like trying to draw out the laugh out loud moments. I just felt like, again, Sam Rockwell's character, in terms of like how he was like reacting to things or like responding to things and stuff like that, was like humorous, and that's where a lot of like the kind of, not like laugh out louds, but like the like small chuckles and stuff like that came out of the movie for me.
I thought he was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell.
Like that scene where she's just found out that her parents are actually not her parents, whatever, and they leave the building, and then she's like, "Oh my god, I forgot my cat," and then he has to explain to her like, "Are you really going to risk your life to go and collect that cat?" And I thought that's like really funny.
I think he had a very good performance. There was a scene here and there where he was funny, but he wasn't really like, guys. For me personally, this film wasn't really funny for me. Like I said, there were some comedic elements that was definitely needed, but overall, it wasn't really a funny film. And
I agree.
And if, but
I'm just saying, if the little humor that was there was mostly in Sam Rockwell's performance, like his frustration with Ellie, and then the train fight scene where he keeps finding more goons no matter what. And he's trying to get her to cooperate, and she's paralyzed with fear, and then because they have to argue for several seconds. There's another wave of goons, and he just gets annoyed after the fourth time it happens. Like there was funny stuff in there.
I think for me, Buzzy, his funny moment was when he was trying to process on her decision. Like he was trying to process what she said to him why she shot him in the heart. I don't know if you guys remember that scene.
Yeah,
that was funny. That was
at
funny.
that point, I stopped caring anyway.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think there's anything more else to say about this film besides last sports, because unfortunately. Sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, I think there's actually a lot to like about this movie. It's just always little bits and pieces. Like one thing I was really concerned about is whether the plot makes sense, right? That's always my big thing. If the plot doesn't make sense, then I've got a hard time enjoying the movie. And I kept looking for contradictions in, all of those clues and the memories and the author's intuition and all of those things. And I think it all adds up. It's a massive misdirect because we are not told that these are actually, we're kind of led to believe that the thing about the thumb drive happened recently when actually it was 5 years. But I think the more I think about it, the more it makes sense, which is actually kind of impressive and really refreshing. But then they add in stuff like the entire last third. That just and it's just jarring to me that those two things exist in the same movie.
I feel like the only part that I maybe disliked about like the story was just the whole like MacGuffin of the file that they need to like retrieve and whatever. And I didn't really feel that it was like explained well enough why it was like this big thing that they needed to get. And of course it was going to bring down the what are they called, the division or the division, of course it was meant to like bring down that whole organization, but you didn't really feel like kind of like the weight of it, of like what was so special or what was actually in this file that was going to bring down the whole organization.
Well, I mean, it was everybody's code names and dossiers, and whoever has it can take it on the other side, right? And the only clues for where it is in Ellie's brain, and so that's why everybody needs her. Like, I thought that all makes sense.
This is why I like you, Daniel, because you remember things in movies that I completely forget, and I think I forgot about that part. So yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, it doesn't make sense why they are the only ones trying to get this, or why there isn't an actual intelligence service trying to. But that would have cluttered up the movie, right? But I mean, I don't think you can think too deeply about the premise, but just within its own logic, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. Another part that maybe you can explain to me as well was a whole like double cross, triple cross that Ellie Conway's character like was supposed to have done, where she was meant to meet this guy and then she shoots him. Obviously, then the building blows up, and that leads to her like losing her memory and stuff like that. Yeah. And like she was maybe working for the bad guys, but actually she was a good guy and this and the other. I felt like, I mean, it didn't not make sense, but I felt like it just kind of convoluted again that third act where things just started to get like super weird, and that was just like another part where it was just like, you're kind of losing me here.
I think the way I remember it is that they just made the assumption that she had betrayed the directorate. Mm-hmm. But actually, and the twist was that she hadn't, that she was still loyal to the director before she lost her memory and became their basic. And when she got her memory back, she at least pretended to still be loyal. But at that point, she had too many other experiences to still be on board with that. So it was really convoluted, and that was the part that I probably enjoyed the least. The rest of it is at least fun, the fun kind of stupid. Whereas here it's kind of needlessly complicated, and I don't think there's any foreshadowing or establishing at all. There's just a reveal at some point.
Yeah, I felt like they went a little bit too crazy with the plot twists, because the ones previously did work. The ones where her parents weren't her parents, I felt like that really worked. I felt like her actually being an agent, that was another plot twist that worked, and I felt like they just maybe tried to tag on another one that maybe just didn't land effectively as they wanted to. We can't leave this without talking about Bryan Cranston, because again, he's a top actor, one of my favorite actors as well, and I felt like he had a very, very solid performance in this movie as well. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
You guys, sorry, then you can answer, because I was actually gonna answer a follow-up question to that. But
I don't think I have much to say about that. He always puts in an enjoyable performance, no matter how ridiculous the script is, and he did his job. And he did it well, but nothing that really stood out to me.
So, follow-up question: do you guys think Heny Cavill should have had a more prominent role in this film? I think they only gave us like 7 minutes of him.
Heny Cavill. I must have seen a different trailer than everybody else because I didn't have this expectation that it was all about Heny Cavill. I actually found it kind of refreshing that he has a small role because he's not a huge star, but he's kind of like he would normally be cast for those kinds of leading roles, and for him to take on this supporting role, basically, I thought was kind of refreshing. And I thought my main problem with him as a character, or his character, is that it doesn't make any sense because he is her, right? He is Ellie Conway, right? They're the same person. So why is she seeing him as other people in her memories? That is something that you're not supposed to think about too hard, I think. Like that scene in the train where she keeps flashing back and forth between Sam Rockwell's character and Heny Cavill's character. Like visually, that's a pretty good sequence and interesting and everything. But why is she seeing him? Is like Agent Argylle is the persona she created to kind of bottle up her own memories, right? And but Argylle is really her. So why is she seeing him as another person? And it's stuff like that kind of drags down the movie for me, where just if the movie asks you to not think about it too hard, then I have a hard time getting invested.
Yeah, maybe I think I can excuse it a little bit in terms of like, if I think of it as, this is maybe the first time that she's seen spy action live directly in front of her. Maybe it's just triggering memories of that, and maybe it's like her subconscious reminding her that she is that as well. That's the only way I can kind of excuse it. But then again, that's me having to dig and try to like find an excuse for it, to be honest.
But this whole movie is predicated on kind of there being this second layer of reality, right? Where what she remembers and what she experiences are not in sync with each other, and the two kind of converge at the end. I think that is not only completely underdeveloped and they don't do anything interesting with it, but it also doesn't. That's the part that really doesn't hold up to scrutiny when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because that's the whole thing. Right, without that, it's just by the numbers action. That is competent, but nothing special.
Talking about special, what was you guys' highlight moment?
So my main thing is that it's all very solid and enjoyable up until it gets stupid, and then the stupid parts are the most memorable, but they don't fit in the movie. So I have a hard time really coming up with one best part of it. And I can't. It always got almost. It got almost to the finish line in a lot of places where I wish they had done more with it. Like had done more with the fact that she's a writer now, or something, right? And it wasn't. The movie really wasn't interested in that. So I have a hard time really coming up with the best sequence. That's my answer.
I'd probably go with the train scene. I think I already mentioned that I really enjoyed that scene. I felt like it was like, quite creative what they tried to do with that. Again, it was like very entertaining as well. Reminded me a little bit of Bullet Train, which I don't know if you've seen. Very solid movie as well.
Great movie.
Very good movie. But it was just like entertaining, good action in there as well, good humor at the same time, and I felt like that was like the highlight for me.
Okay, well, for me, like I mentioned before, all your skating, I think it was executed really good.
It's almost got kind of this. I sometimes have this. I don't know if I've said it on this channel, but I sometimes have this with MCU movies, where it's very apparent that the fight scenes and the talkie scenes were directed by different people, and even to the point where it feels like two different characters that happen to be played by the same actors. And I think the same thing with especially the ice skating scene, but also the armory scene, where I just didn't believe that was the same person from 5 minutes ago.
And you're saying that's a bad thing?
Yes, like that, but just makes it not hang together, in my opinion. Because it's not like a character moment, right? It's not the realization of some character arc or her overcoming some hurdle or something. It's just the script says she's an action hero now for 5 minutes, and then we'll resume the plot afterwards.
Mm-hmm. I do agree. I will agree with that. I think her kind of like discovering herself was kind of rushed. It was like I think what they were trying to give off was that she was discovering on the spot, and it was kind of like subconsciously she was kind of like releasing herself. I'm saying, yeah. And so, but I do agree, it did kind of feel like they just slapped us in the face with it, rather than actually just, slowly building up to that moment, which was something which they should have slowly built up to the moment, rather than just giving it to us on the spot. So
yeah, she should have gradually remembered things and got like actually having a character that goes from completely useless because she's terrified and cowering her corner to badass spy is a really interesting character arc to go on, right? But instead of being an arc, it was kind of like a staircase. Kind of goes like this, especially in the vineyard where the Sam Rockwell character punches her to kind of trigger her fight, like her memories of her fight skills, and she just becomes an instant martial artist just instinctively. Right?
Yeah.
She hasn't done that in 5 years. And it's a heightened, no matter which way you approach it, it's a heightened reality as this kind of action movie. But I think there was like a really interesting character arc here where she discovers these things gradually and maybe views them in different ways than she would have 5 years ago, because she's a different person now.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Ellie Conway character doesn't go away. Right? They kind of merge, but it's kind of unexplored how those interact, other than it causes her to triple cross the directorate again because she's a good person now. And that's kind of it.
Yeah. I do definitely believe that they should have showed pieces and fragments of, her starting to remember in her actions or even the way that she talks. Because I don't think, to be fair, I don't even really know what the agent was like. Because even though her spy boyfriend, what was his name? I forgot his name. Aiden. Even though Aiden was kind of like, revealing to her what she was like in the scene when they were in, what country were they in again? Near the end, in the third act.
Arabian Peninsula.
Even though he was kind of like revealing to her what type of person she was, it was still kind of anonymous to her what type of person she was. So I think maybe they should have kind of like, revealed fragments of that throughout the film, and she'll have moments where, unexplainable moments, where maybe she could have had a scene where she lashed out, for example, right? And I'll be like, oh, where did that come from? And then we'll start to see, okay, this is not actually her. Do you get what I'm saying? Just kind of like give us some clues. I just think, they kind of just jumped into a whole new character. We're like, okay. Even though, like I said, I did mention before, I did find the plot twist interesting, but it was still kind of pushed to us rather than, something that gradually formed.
I feel like it was done well, more so on the kind of mental side of things, of her, like, being able to pick up on clues and things like that, and her be able to like kind of like do situations, and I feel like that was done well, and it was explained well in terms of like her, doing a lot of research to understand like certain things about like the spy world and stuff like that. I feel like that side of it was done well. It's just like more the action side of things, I think, was probably like the part, like obviously like you guys have said, where it's been rushed a little bit, where again, they probably could have explained it where she's just like trained to be like a fighter or something like that in that time period where she's lost her memory, in her wanting to like understand how like fight sequences might work, something like that. She's trained to learn a sort of specific martial art or something like that, and then you can explain her randomly lashing out or like whatever at someone. I don't know, something. It
would have even been interesting if she had brought the author skills into the spy world, and maybe that is what allows her to save the day in the end. That because that gives her basically skill sets and knowledge that an average spy doesn't have, or it might cause her to do things that spies don't expect or wouldn't do, maybe. and that would have been like there's kind of fragments here of a story about to what extent somebody's personality is made up of their memories, right? Like that we are the sum of our memories, that sort of thing. And it kind of goes within an inch of talking about that, but it doesn't really. And it could. I think that's another missed opportunity here, where it just doesn't do the interesting thing.
All right. Well, guys, I think this is a good time to ask for your last thoughts.
So, what's interesting I think just in overall, it's a frustratingly mixed movie, right? It's not bad, right? And I actually I think it's the first time in 4 episodes where I don't have complaints about the plot, right? Which is to me is a really a rarity in Hollywood movies at the moment, where for whatever reason plot always comes last and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And for the most part, it does, except for stuff at the very end. But for the bulk of the movie, it actually does add up. At least it feels like they put a lot of thought into making the details line up, and I really appreciated that. And maybe that is why my letdown about the last third is bigger than it otherwise would be, because if it was all nonsense, then I wouldn't mind as much. But like this movie kind of had everything going for it, right? Recognized director, good production values, for the most part a solid story except for the end, all-star cast and all of that, and it still didn't work. So, if this doesn't work, then what does?
What would you rate the film?
It's almost impossible to rate because the different pieces are so different. As a whole piece, I would give it maybe 5 out of 8 or 9. So because it just doesn't add up, right? It just pieces of different movies kind of jammed together, and it's more so than a bad movie. It feels like a good movie where they stop trying, in the last 20 minutes, and that's almost worse. If it was just dumb action, I would rate it much higher. But as it stands, it just once again, I keep getting baffled by these movies, and it just keeps happening, and they keep finding new and interesting ways to frustrate and annoy me. And I thought I had seen everything, and then along comes Argylle. So that's my takeaway.
Harry, what about you?
I think it's a very good but flawed movie by the final act. Like I said, very good plot. A lot of the characters in this are very likable, very sort of engaging, very entertaining throughout the movie. Good action sequences as well. Yeah, good fun up until the point where it stops making sense. So I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10, which is quite high. I feel like the majority of the movie does well enough for me to not bring it too down by the final act. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, just close down the streaming window at the 2/3 mark.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's a film. It's an expected spy film. Nothing out of the ordinary. Like I said, for me personally, good fun in the third act. The previous 2 acts, not for me. But hey, man, I do agree that it was fun-ish. And yeah, typical spy movie. I'd give it a 6.
Cool. I feel like it's been a while since we've all liked the same things about a movie or disliked the same things about a movie. So Madam Web's coming up soon, so looking forward all of this. But,
oh god, the projections for that film as well apparently is not looking good either. Yes, the state of film is kind of scary, man. It's kind of scary. It's worrying, personally, for me, because it's like, is it a thing where people just, like you mentioned before, Daniel, is it a thing where just people just not in the movie watching mood, or is this like some sort of, is this going to be like a long-term issue where people are just not going to go to cinema anymore? And they just realize, are we moving to a streaming? Okay, I think that's a topic for another day, Percy. I was going to say, are we moving more towards a streaming service avenue, or is just that people are just going to go and watch good movies when good movies come out?
I've got like kind of two thoughts on it. I do feel like, the the amount of streaming services that there are, and of course, the prices of streaming services constantly going up, and the idea that these movies are made for streaming services and will get there eventually. So I feel like a lot of people feel like they can wait for it to come to a streaming service. Where you're paying £15 a month for Netflix, you might as well wait for the movie to come to Netflix. Or if you're paying X amount for Apple TV, you might as well get your money's worth and wait for the movie to come to Apple TV. I do also feel like cinemas become an event type thing. So like, you're kind of waiting for the next big thing, the next big discussion to be part of. So, you're waiting for that thing that, the media tells you that you have to go and watch. So like with the whole like Barbenheimer thing, like Oppenheimer, I don't believe would have made anywhere close to the amount of money that it made last year if it didn't have that whole Barbenheimer push behind it, where you had to go and watch both movies at the same time. So I feel like cinema is becoming an event. I feel like Marvel created that in terms of like having that cinematic universe that accumulated to that like big massive sort of end game finale or whatever. And I just like I feel like that's what's causing people not to go and see some of these like really good movies that are just maybe like it's one-offs and stuff like that.
But when something good comes out, people do flock to it, right? Barbie, Oppenheimer.
But that was like
last year.
But that was like an event.
Barbie
was like what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's an event. It's like everyone's like going crazy about it. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
So everyone goes to view it, as opposed to it just being a good movie that people like, that spreads massively through word of mouth or like good marketing or it just being a good movie.
But both of those movies had good word of mouth as well. People just kept, like, the movie wasn't just a 1 week thing. It stayed relevant for a long time because people had a good experience watching it and then kept recommending it to people. So I think more so than anything, it's more of audiences being jaded because the average or the median quality is so low now in terms of just having a good time. Like never mind art or anything like that. Just, is this going to give me a good experience? That people are going to get more and more risk averse, and that only gets worse as time goes on and kept getting burned more and more, and as prices also keep going up. I don't know. It seems to me like more so than streaming or more so than the cost, the primary thing is that audience just have been cheated too often, where you just cannot expect a good time from a movie anymore because so many of them just aren't made, like they aren't even fit for purpose as movies in many cases. Like we've talked about several on this channel, and where talented people who have done good work in the past, who have all the money and resources and connections and access that they could ask for, still turn out nonsense. And on a very basic level of just being an enjoyable story that is memorable and that just works. And I feel like over the last 10 years, that has happened over and over again to audiences. At some point, people stop trying or stop hoping, right? At some point, you just say, okay, I guess movies are bad now, and I'm going to go if all my friends are going, and all my friends are only going if it's something like Endgame or Barbie or something like you said, an event. And that is like a vicious circle where, as that happens, movies get more and more risk averse. They are more and more designed by committee, and that means the chances of getting something good and memorable goes down even more, and so people become more risk averse, and so movies become more cautious, and then keeps going in circles until finally the whole thing implodes. And like in the past year or so, we started seeing more mid-range movies that fell outside of the usual templates or that weren't just superhero movies, even though I enjoy those, but it became ridiculous for several years. But at some point, people just stop hoping and stop giving these things a shot. Even though it started to look like there was like a change in the tides, at least that's what it seemed like to me. But then something like Argylle happens, where people just go, well, people aren't even surprised if it's junk.
I feel like there's another good topic in there in terms of like, because again, a lot of what Hollywood's peddling at the moment is a lot of like nostalgia. It's like, here's your favorite franchise from 10, 20 years ago. Here we're making a new movie, come out and see it. And I feel like it'd be an interesting discussion to have about, whether it's because people actually want, the nostalgia movies, or whether there's been too many bad new ideas that people, need that like kind of like safe, like, need to be like safe within the franchise to go and watch the movie, essentially, if you kind of get what I'm trying to say. It'll be an interesting topic to explore.
Yeah, for me, it's basically the original movies often don't do a good job promoting themselves to the point where just by watching the trailer or seeing the poster, I have no idea what it is about. They all look the same. They're all marketed the exact same way. And then the big event stuff or the established IPs are just not handled properly. So either way you lose.
Yeah.
And did you guys see the Beetlejuice 2 poster?
I've not seen that, no.
So basically, that really got a lot of attention because there's like two ways in which it ties into the specifics of the Beetlejuice lore. That shows that at least the people who made the poster have seen the movie and cared enough about it to remember some details, and that made it the best movie poster in years. Like, that's the hurdle. And people talked about it like it's a revelation and revolutionary, when really it just means like then they know the brand and know what people like about it. And if you're at that level, I don't think you can really blame people for being jaded about movies.
I thought Beetlejuice was getting scrapped. I did see a video about James Gunn doing the Beetlejuice 2, but I thought that was going to be scrapped.
As far as I know, it's coming out, and they put out a poster. So I don't think we have a trailer yet, but it's like a poster came out, and that made people lose their minds because of how creative it was. And by creative, I mean they call it Beetlejuice, and the poster is not just somebody looking at the camera with a serious look on their face. It's actually something that is relevant to how the first movie ended.
Okay.
So, and that is like if you just describe it like that, it's not actually that impressive. Like that should be the norm. But how many non-generic movie posters have you seen in recent years, where actually there's this actual character and personality and has specifics in it about what is being advertised, as opposed to just actors looking at camera?
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, guys, I think that's it. Yeah. I think that's it for today. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We will be back next week with Iron Claw, I believe. Yep. And also watch out for our Monday topic discussions, where we discuss interesting topics. That's about it. And Hervé, can you do your speciality?
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Of course, we're a new channel, so it will help with the algorithm. So yeah, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, if you like this, tell a friend. If you hated this, tell an enemy.
That is a great way to end today's video. All right, guys. See you next week.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.